we are going to start off this semester by practicing making some simple, just text proverb posters. Now, proverbs, not necessarily religious, they can be anything that is a general like saying or phrase that's connected to a culture. This specific proverb is a African proverb. Until the lion learns how to write, every story will glorify the hunter. So in this exercise, you are going to kind of refresh your masking skills. You're going to refresh um, using the effects panel, and we are going to learn about a new text feature that up here, it is the dynamic text feature block, which gives us this kind of very classic, very popular right now text treatment where the text changes size based on like how the words are placed, and it just looks more dynamic and interesting. And of course, we're going to show some occlusion. We have to make sure that our animals overlap the text a little bit. And when we do that, we're going to make sure that we can still kind of read the text. We got to basically figure out what is still readable. So to me, we can kind of infer that the is there. If I had this moved down a little bit, then maybe we'd have kind of trouble figuring out what I'm trying to say. Um, Another thing you're going to do when making these posters is I want us to make sure if you hit control or sorry, I'll show you in a second, but basically we want to make sure you have at least half an inch or so of space between the words and the fall off the edge of your poster, all right? We don't ever want things like this to happen, all right? Now sometimes, oopsies, sometimes this is purposeful, but in our case, it is not. The problem when your words are touching the edge like that is it looks like an accident. It looks like you cropped an image weirdly. So let's make sure that we are giving basically equal spacing. So whatever the spacing is on the left and the right, I kind of want that same spacing on the top because then it's going to look purposeful. Okay. Okay. So what you're going to do is you are going to find an animal photo. You're going to find some sort of background, and then you're going to find a proverb, all right? And ideally, try to find something that you feel like actually relates to maybe the animal you found. Um, and if you're like me, you can just Google it, all right? You can just Google like that, depending on whatever animal you're doing, all right? So like I just Googled it and AI Google immediately told me there's a proverb that says when you're up to your necks in alligators, it's hard to remember that your initial objective was to drain the swamp. I don't know what that means, but finding the proverb is one part of the process, all right? Your first step is to figure out what animal you're going to do and what your proverb is. The next step, I'll show you how we actually put this together. First of all, you're going to open up Photoshop. I'm going to jump to my Photoshop homepage, and we are going to open up a new file, and we are going to make sure that this is a 11-inch for width and 17 inches for height. So I'm going to make sure this is in inches, not pixels. So just double checking. Always happens where someone accidentally sets that to pixels and then it turns out tiny. Resolution, we want 300. And it's okay if we'll keep it just in RGB for this exercise. It doesn't matter much. Okay. And I'll just call this proverb poster and click create. Okay, here we go. Here is my poster. And now my first step is to drag in my animals, which are going to be the main subjects of this poster. So I am going to go to my Finder and I am going to go to my downloads. And I downloaded this from Unsplash, which is our lovely photo website. I'm just going to drag it and drop it. And here pops in my lionesses. So I'm going to go up here and just click OK to place it for right now. Zoom in. Great. So the best way to start is to just hit select subject. So we remember that there's a little bar down here whenever we pop in an image, and the computer basically will automatically see that there's something there. So I'm going to hit select subject, and initially it just grabs the lionesses, which is great, but I actually like the rock here and I want the rock to be part of the design. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the left-hand side, and remember, just reminding, we always are working in the Workspace Essentials default. So if your tools look different than mine, go to Window, Workspace Essentials default. Okay, back to my lionesses. Now remember, if you accidentally click off, it might get rid of them. Didn't right there, but it might. We are going to go to our quick selection tool. So it is usually the one, two, three, fourth tool down. And if you don't see it, try right clicking, but it's this guy. All right. And so then once we click that up here, we can choose to add or subtract stuff from our selection. And we want to add the rock. So I clicked add, and then I'm just going to click and drag, and it's snapping to pixels basically. It's snapping to pixels that it sees are similar colors. So do 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 do. There we go. That did pretty good. But if I zoom in more, look at that. It missed that and it missed those little guys. All right. So I can use my quick selection thing to just grab those. Deep, drag, drag. All right. And if you took graphic one, you also know that we can also use our lasso tools. And if we hold down Alt and circle, we can remove parts of a selection, or if we hold down Shift and circle, we can add parts to a selection. So it didn't grab this little like sliver inside this female lion. So I can use my quick selection tool, but I think I'm just going to actually just hold down Alt and use my lasso to clean that up. So remember, the quick selection tool is not always perfect. So we got to know how to do this stuff manually if it needs. I can't tell if that's the light of a fur or a corner, so I'm just going to forget about it. Oop, I missed a little spot there. I can see him. Hold down Shift and circle to add these. All right. Remember, we always want clean masks. We love clean masks. And I'm not going to worry about that because that's little tiny hairs or something, or grass hairs. Okay. Once your animal's selected the way you want, you're just going to hit the mask button. All right. Which is right here on this little bar if you have the bar, or it's down here in your layers panel. Poof. Okay, great. We have the lionesses selected. And if I want to move them, I'm just going to click on their image, and I can either click the move tool right here, or I can hit Control T and scale them. So I'm going to make them a little bigger because I want them to take up a little more space. There we go. Okay. So now I'm going to drag in my background image. So I'm going to go back to my Finder folder and find that pretty sky image, drag it and drop it. Perfect. Now it popped up on top of the lions. That's fine because I'm going to drag it below them, but I'm just going to place it and click OK, and then drag it. So click on the layer, drag it below my lions. Boom. Cute. Actually, I kind of like the position they ended up there better than here. It's kind of cool. Okay, so next we're going to do the type. All right, so how we're going to do this is we are going to first copy the your proverb. So wherever your proverb is, so I'm going to just look up my proverb again. Proverb about lions. Um, until the lion. There we go. You just got to copy the text. So I'm just gonna, okay, go away, go away. There we go. Okay. And I like to keep the quotation marks because then it kind of implies that this is like um, it's a saying, it's a proverb. So copy, Control C, go back here, and then I'm going to grab my text tool, which is the T right here. Click on it. And I'm not just going to click, I'm going to click and drag most of my kind of area I want the text and release. And before I click anything, I'm going to immediately hit um, Control V to paste the text. There we go. Now, I would choose a very bold sans serif font because I think that always looks very modern and it works when we're going to use the dynamic block text feature. So grab your text, and if it doesn't look bold, search through your fonts and find a font that looks bold. All right. So, like, don't do this font because that font's hard to read and it's not going to work for the technique we're going for. So, just find something bold. It's like the font I'm using, it doesn't like the quotation marks, which is fine. I'll just find a different one. There we go. Now, I'm using Brunson font, and I just noticed that my fonts are very close together, or my letters. So I grab all this and I'm going to go over to my character panel, which of course, if you don't see it here, you can go to window and find it. But I am going to go to the tracking, which tracking is the spacing between letters, and I'm just going to increase it a little bit so we can at least read them. I might even want it a little more. There we go. I want to read my words. Thank you. Okay. All right. So now how do we do this dynamic? I'm going to double click to select all of it. The dynamic text tool up here. What we're going to do is click it, and then you're going to click on the block feature. And immediately what happens is it shifts and fills your whole space with your words. Okay. So this is super cool looking, but we've got to play with it a little bit. So if we click on it, we can move it around, all right, which is great and dandy. But to change the words, we have to double click a few times until we enter back into the text box. And here, what we can do is we can stretch the text box out to kind of have the words adjust. We can also click and hit the space bar to move words down levels. All right. And so this is something you have to play with because it's going to adjust and do funky things based on what you're doing. Okay. So I know I want to make sure that my keywords are important. So the lion and the hunter to me are like the main characters or the main like features of this proverb. So I want to make sure that those are pretty key. So this is again going to be a little bit of playing. So pardon while I shift stuff around. So I kind of like what happened here. It says, until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. But I just don't like how big until is. So I think I'll move lion up there. So look, I'm playing with this. You got to play with it to make it look good. All right. So this is just us playing with this feature. Okay. So remember to pay attention to where your words are and how it's affecting how readable your stuff is. So this is supposed to go behind my lions. So maybe I should shift that behind my lions because that is how we're going to do this because that gives it the depth and gives us this idea of layers. So problem is this is making some stuff a little bit hard to read. So I'm going to play with this. Oh, I kind of like this. All right. Until the lion learns to write, every story will glorify the hunter. Okay, I think I'm happy with this. I think I just want things to be a little more spaced out. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna click off. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make sure that the spacing around the tops and sides uh, feels purposeful. All right. That's good. All right. I'm also think I'm going to mess with the leading, which is the spacing of lines. So if I grab all this and go to my character panel, I'm going to try to decrease the leading. And I'm kind of curious because I don't know exactly how this works when we're doing the dynamic text tool. Oh, so I just turned it on or off, and that's what happens. So interesting. All right. Well, I think I'm going to stick with this. Okay. And I'm going to kind of place this, and I can move my lines down to kind of fit it better. Ooh, there you go. I'm happy with that. And again, I'm paying attention to, I do not want my words to be touching the top. And however much space is on the left, that's how much space should be on the right. So I'm going to make sure this is even because otherwise it's going to look like you made a mistake. All right. Lastly, we are going to add a little drop shadow onto our text because drop shadows always make stuff look cute and layered. So you're going to go right here to your effects panel, click on that, and we are going to click on drop shadow. This pops up. We want it on multiply. We want it black. And you want the angle upward. That means the sun's coming from the top or the light. Opacity, make that about, you can do 16 to 20. Maybe I'll move it up to 20. Let's make it 20. Distance 25, spread 0, size 33. Boop, boop, boop. Click OK. And there we go. All right. So now you are going to save this as a copy to your desktop. You are going to make sure you are saving it as a Photoshop PDF. Remember, Photoshop PDF is the high res, high quality saved file, all right? So do that, save that, and attach that into the assignment. Okay? And when you're saving it, please make sure when the Adobe PDF preset pops up, if it says modified, change it to high quality print. Modified does weird stuff. All right, save that and go ahead and turn that in. And that was our little poster practice.